Alright, so our last bit here is combining the translations and amplitude changes together. So here we go. So again, we go and analyze. Okay, that number is going to affect our x's. These numbers are going to affect our y's. So when we do our table, okay, we're going to be adding 135 to our x's. And then with our y's, we are going to be doing 4 times y plus 2. So here we go. 0 plus 135 is 135. 90 plus 135 is 225. 180 plus 135 is, I believe, 315. And then, let's see here. 0, 90, 180, 270 plus 135 is 405. And 495. Okay. Now with our y's, we're at cosine, so we're starting at 1. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 0 times 4 is 0, plus 2 is 2. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4, plus 2 is negative 2. And then the rest should look like you're going out the other side. So now, set your scale. We go 135 right here. It's going to go all the way to 495. Halfway between is 315. Halfway between is 225. And halfway between is 405. We go up to 6. And we go 2. Then we go to negative 2. So plot your points. 135, 6. 225, 2. 315, negative 2. 405, 2. And 495, 6. Draw on your curve. And you're done. Okay? So analyze here, and if you look, we only have the plus 90 inside, so that means we're going to be subtracting 90 from the x's. And the y's, there's nothing affecting them. So here, 0 minus 90 is negative 90. 90 minus 90 is 0. 180 minus 90 is 90. 270 minus 90 is 180. And 360 minus 90 is 270. Okay? So our y's stay the same. Sine goes from 0 to 1 to 0 to negative 1 to 0. So now, let's set it up. We have negative 90 here. We got 0. We got 90. We got 180. And we got 270. And we go from 1 to negative 1. And we start off 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0. And draw your curve. And we're done. Okay. So looking at this one, number 3. Okay. So here, that is going to adjust our x. These two are going to adjust our y's. So here we're going to have x minus 135. And then over here we're going to have 4 times y plus 2. So 0 minus 135 is negative 135. 90 minus 135 is negative 45. And then we're going to have 45 and 135 and 225. Okay? And since it's sine, we start at 0. 0 times 4 is 0, plus 2 is 2. Then 1 times 4 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 0 times 4 is 0, plus 2 is 2. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4, plus 2 is negative 2. And then we go back up to 2. So we're going to extend this out again, just like we did before. And let's go with negative 45 here, which means probably like negative 135 here, roughly, and then 45, 135, and 225. Okay, we go up to 6 at 2 and then at negative 2. So plot your graph. So we're here, and then up here, and then down here, and then back to here, and then back up. And I missed something up. That's what it is. Going too fast here. So actually it goes up and then to here and then bottoms out and then back up. There we go. So make sure you're aware of where everything is supposed to set up and make sure that your graph ends where it needs to end. Okay? Alright, so here on the next one, we have minus 225 here that affects our x's, and then we have the 1/2 and the negative 1 that affects our y's. So our x's are going to be x plus 225, and our y's are going to be y divided by 2 minus 1. Okay, so here we start at 225, and the change in these is always 90, so this is going to be 315, 405, 495, and 585. Okay. Now with the y's, it's cosine, so we're starting at 1. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2, minus 1 is negative 1/2. 0 divided by 2 is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. And then we're at negative 1 divided by 2 is negative 1/2. And that gets us negative 1.5, and it's going to go back out the same way it came in. And so now we go and set up our scale. We're going to go at 225 here, 585 here, halfway is 405, and then halfway here is 315, halfway here is 495. And we go from negative 1/2 as the maximum to negative 1 to negative 1.5. So here we go. Plot our points. We're here to the middle, to the bottom, to the middle, to the top. And there's your graph. Okay, continuing on to number 5, we analyze. We have minus 135, so we're at plus 135, and then these attack our y's. So here we're going to have x plus 135, and then we're going to have y divided by 2 minus 2. So here we go. 0 plus 135 is 135. Again, the difference between every value of x is 90 on here. So that's 225, 315, 405, and 495. Okay, so now the y's, the sign, we start at 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2, minus 2 is negative 1.5. And then negative 1 over 2 is negative 1/2, minus 2. Hold on, let me start this over again. I think I've confused myself a little bit. So let's try this again. So sign starts at 0. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 1 over 2 is 1/2, minus 2 is negative 1.5. 315, 0 over 2 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. Then Negative 1 over 2 is negative 1/2. Minus 2 is negative 2.5. And then we go back to negative 2. There we go. Alright, so start at 135. We go to, let's write that above it, since it seems like everything's going to be negative here. So 135, it's going to go to 495. Halfway is 315. Halfway is 225. And halfway here is 405. Now the highest we go is negative 1.5. And the lowest we go is negative 2.5. And we end up in the middle there with negative 2. So now you just plot the points here, then to the top, back to the middle, to the bottom, and then back to the middle, and connect the dots. And there you go. Okay. And so the last one here, we do our analysis. We have the minus 90 here. We have the minus 1 and times 3 here. So that means in our table, we're going to do x plus 90. Got to do the opposite. And then we're going to have 3 times y minus 1. So 0 plus 90 is 90. Then we have 180, 270, 360, and 450. And so now with the y's, it's cosine, so we're starting at 1. So that's 3 minus 1 is 2. Then the 0. Then the negative 1. Then back the other way. So here we go. Set your scale. We're starting at 90. We're going all the way to 450. Halfway is 270. Halfway here is 180. And halfway here is 360. Okay, we're going as high as 2. So let's go right there. We're going as low as negative 4. And halfway in between should be negative 1. And now just plot your points. Start at the top, to the middle, to the bottom, to the middle, to the top, and draw on your curve. And there is graphing those in degrees. And the last part will be with radians.